In this question, they're asking which inequality represents the situation. You want to rent a guitar and your maximum budget is $75 for the day. The initial fee is $10 and it is $8 for each hour that you have the guitar. So since 75 is your maximum for your budget, then 75 is the biggest number. The inequality is either going to be greater than or equal to, and it can be $75. So it has to be greater than or equal to. So that eliminates A, and it also eliminates B because it can be $75. Now, for the remainder of it, it's $10 for an initial fee, and it doesn't matter. This $10 doesn't change depending on how many hours you have, but there is an $8 fee for each additional hour. So the correct answer is C. Continuing on with the second situation, what's the maximum number of hours that you can rent the guitar for? Well, in order to do that, we need to solve this inequality. So we'll subtract $10 from each side. And what we get is 65 is greater than or equal to 8h. Now, when I divide both sides by 8, I won't get a whole number and you can't rent partial hours. So 65 divided by 8, the closest answer would be approximately 8. We're asked which of the following expressions shown represent the volume of the cylinder where R is the radius and H is the height. So we start with the formula for the volume of a cylinder. And then we substitute H over 2 for the radius. And the power of a quotient will make this H squared over 2 squared. And since we're multiplying H squared times what is effectively H over 1, we get H cubed. Making our final answer I over H3 divided by 4, which is choice 2 over here. So just literally writing that out, I have 7 added to 4 times y equals 62. Now they made no mention of which pieces are grouped together with parentheses, but if I had to use PEMDAS, I would just go in the order of operations. So I'm going to do the 4y first. So 7 plus 4y equals 62. And that would be choice C. We're asked to find the value of this function when x equals 7. So we're being asked to find f of 7. So I plug that in. I get 4 times 7 minus 9, which is 28 minus 9, which is 19, and that corresponds to choice A. This question is effectively asking for a ratio between raisins and biscuits. So our equation has B for biscuits, R for raisins, and it's asking if the business is tending to 16 raisins in a specific day, what's the capacity for biscuits? Well, we start off by writing the equation. And we're given that raisins equals 16, so we replace R. And then we multiply 2.5 times 16. Then we subtract 40 from both sides. And then finally, to isolate B, we divide both sides by 1.25. And then we find that B equals 32. In this question, you're given that L and M, these two lines, are parallel to each other. And we're given that this angle measures 63. Well, these angles are going to be equal to each other. So this one's also 63 degrees. And then to get from here, here's 180 degrees. So I do 180 minus 63. I get 117. When we have a system of equation, there are 3 possible solutions. The first solution is where the lines meet in a single point. The second solution, these are parallel lines, so there are no solutions because the lines will never meet. They have the same slope. And then in this third one, it's a little difficult to see. I drew a thick yellow line with a thin black line right on top of it, where there's an infinite number of solutions because the lines are on top of each other and have the same slope. So we're asked on this one to solve by substitution, and I see that over here it says that y equals 2x minus 4, so I can replace this y with 2x minus 4. So we start with the original equation. And we replace the y with 2x minus 4. Now you distribute the minus 2. Then I can subtract 7x minus 4x. Then I subtract 8 from both sides. And finally, divide both sides by 3. Since I now know that the x coordinate for the point is going to be minus 1, I can now eliminate a, which is positive 1, and d, which is positive 1. Now I take either of the two equations. I'm going to take y equals 2x minus 4, and I'm going to substitute this minus 1 in, which then gives me y equals minus 2 minus 4. So combining the two answers, I get x is minus 1 and y is minus 6. So the correct answer is here, C, minus 1 minus 6. There are two different ways of answering this question depending upon where it's going to show up in the SAT. The first one, if you're taking the digital version of the SAT, you can use a graphing calculator such as Desmos, although any graphing calculator will do. So finding the roots of the equation is also finding the zeros of the equation where y is 0, when y is minus 3, and when y is positive 4. Those are the roots of the equation. Let's do it manually. So to do this manually, I need two numbers that multiply to minus 12 and add up to minus 1. So here I've listed all the factors that can give me a 12. It's 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. So in order to get the x squared here, the first term of both of the binomials has to be an x. In order to get a minus here, one has to be negative, one has to be positive. And then in order for this to add up to minus 1, I need the bigger number to be minus and the smaller number positive. 3 and 4. Setting these equal to 0, I get x is 4 and x is minus 3. Stating it as a point, this is asking to find an equation of a line that passes through a point and a slope that's given. So we're going to use the point slope formula. Now, when you do this, you substitute in the x and y coordinates and the slope, which is m. The next line, I'm going to simplify the left and distribute the 2.5. And then finally subtract 3 from both sides. And finally, we get y equals 2.5x minus 13. This is just a common sense trick that appears on the test. Obviously, if you're not using a calculator and you needed to multiply these two numbers by each other, looking at this, your answers would be ridiculous and it would take a long time to do it. So this is really just about making you waste time on the test, and here's how to answer it. Look at the first two numbers here that you're going to multiply in the algorithm, and these two numbers over here. So I know for a fact that if I multiply 2 times 3 and get a 6, when I go to the second digit here, I'm going to put a 0 here. When I go to the third digit, I'm going to put a 0 here, fourth digit, and so on. And then when I add up all those numbers, I'm going to get 6 for the last digit. So that means that I can eliminate choice B and choice D instantly. And then when I multiply these two numbers, I'm going to get a 12. This last digit over here cannot be smaller than a 1. There's no way that this is the answer. So the correct answer is this one. This was the first question on the 2020 SAT. It wanted you to find 10% of this number. So that's just 470 times 0.1, which just makes you move the decimal space 1 space. So the correct answer is 47. This question is a simple one again, and it's asking which of these equations is the same as this one. All you had to do is subtract 6 from both sides. You get 4x equals 12, which we see over here is choice C. This one's asking you to set up an inequality, and the maximum you're willing to spend to rent the surfboard is $75. Since that's the biggest number, we're going to put a greater than here. But it can also be $75, so it's greater than or equal to. And then it says that there's a $25 service fee, so it starts off with a $25 service fee plus it's $10 for each hour that you rent it, so 10 times 8. Now we just have to look to see, these are in reverse. Once I flip it so the 75 is on the right, just keep in mind that the inequality has to reverse direction also. You flip it. So this went the other way. So looking here, I see choice D matches what I got. We'll start this one off by replacing the g of x with 25. Then to solve for x, I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. And then to finally solve for x, I take the square root of both sides. So x equals 4, which was choice A. For this question, we have the die has 14 possible sides, and the number of sides that will contain our positive outcome is only 1. Choice A is the correct answer. Now, if it wasn't fair and the number 2 appeared on 2 of the sides, then it would be 2 over 14 or 1 over 7. Printer produces posters at a constant rate of 42 posters in 1 minute. 42 posters in 1 minute. And it wants to know how many in 1 hour. Well, in order to convert this, I want to convert minutes to hours. And there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. When I multiply straight across, I get 2,520 posters in 1 hour. We're given a function of x, which is 7x plus 2, and we're asked to find the value of the function when x equals 4. So what this is asking is for f of 4. So I've gone ahead and replaced the x's with 4's. So this is f of 4 equals 7 times 4 plus 2. Next, following PEMDAS, we multiply the 7 times 4. And then finally, we add 28 plus 2. So our final answer, when x equals 4, that function equals 30.